There were many events that led up to the Revolutionary War in America. Let's take a look at a few of those events.
It all started in 1754 when the French and the British decided to fight over land. The British went over to the Ohio Valley and were like, "Hey, you guys should leave and let us have this land."
The French were like, "No, we like this land, you should leave." Then they built forts to protect their land.
The British responded by sending George Washington down with troops to also build forts and attack the French. Fighting broke out and the war began in 1754.
At the start of the war, the French appeared to have the upper hand. In 1755, the French carried out one of their more well-known victories at Fort Duquesne by beating back the invading British troops. Over time, however, the British began to gain momentum and eventually managed to successfully subdue 3 French territories. They conquered Louisbourg in 1758, followed by Quebec in 1759, and finally Montreal in 1760.
The fighting continued until 1763 when the Treaty of Paris was signed between the British and the French. The war ended, but the troubles were just beginning for the colonists in America. With the war over, Britain was in a lot of debt. What was their solution?
Taxes! The British placed tons of new taxes on the American colonists, and boy did that make the colonists upset.
A few of the taxes and regulations enforced upon the colonists included the Navigation Act in 1764 requiring colonists to export goods only to Britain, the Sugar Act in 1764 which taxed all sugar imported from the West Indies, the Quartering Act in 1765 forcing colonists to house and feed British soldiers, and the Stamp Act in 1765 which taxed paper products such as legal documents, newspapers, and even playing cards.
An important concept to the colonists was the idea of representation in the British Parliament. They felt it was unfair that they had no voice or input regarding the heavy taxes and regulations put upon them. Taxation without representation became a slogan for the colonists. In response to all the taxes, the colonists began to rebel. They refused to pay taxes and even wrote letters of protest to Parliament.
In 1766, Parliament repealed the Stamp Act, but then passed the Declaratory Act, which basically stated that Britain could govern the colonies however they wanted. Parliament continued to pass more acts that put more taxes and regulations on the colonists. The final straw was when Parliament passed the Tea Act, which taxed all the tea coming into the colonies.
Some of the colonists were so angry they decided to do something about it. Disguising themselves as Native Americans, in Boston, they snuck onto British ships holding tea and dumped all the tea into the harbor. This event became known as the Boston Tea Party. The following is a realistic reenactment of the Boston Tea Party. Viewer discretion is advised.
Conflicts continued to happen between the British and colonists, eventually leading up to the colonists declaring independence from Britain. The Revolutionary War had begun.